So welcome to the, 2024-2025 board nominee Q&A. Thank you for showing up to both our nominees, both as in all of the nominees, and the audience who are here. Person talking right now, who only one of you can see, is Talon. I'm going to be moderating with Snap, who one of you can also only see as well. The Q&A will be around 2 hours long. About halfway through, we will have a 15-minute break where people can get up, have a bio break if they need, have some water, et cetera, et cetera. And then we will be ending around 4:30. So a couple rules for today. We're going to be having somewhere between 15 and 20 questions, timing dependent. Everyone gets a hard 2 minutes per question. I will be starting a timer when you start. If you go past 2 minutes, I will cut you off. So it might be helpful to set your own timer so you don't ramble. If you go under 2 minutes, that's just fine. You don't need to say as much as you need to fill the space, just fill as much as you need to get your point across. I will also be randomizing names for every question, just in the interest of fairness. So if you have issues with the randomizer, that is between you and the website and not me. We also have community watching today. Community are welcome to email questions that they might like to ask the potential nominees. You can do that up until the break. If you have questions you'd like to ask the nominees, you can email them to elections@MNFurs.org. Again, that is before the first break. After the break, you can't send questions anymore. And we also cannot promise to get through all of the submitted questions, but we will do our best. Again, it's kind of time dependent. We are recording this Q&A session. For those who are not currently here because they have conflicts, their answers will be spliced in later. The Q&A recorded session will be uploaded to the MNFurs YouTube account within a few days after it's been edited. So candidates for this year's board nominations, in order of legal first name, we have Kirst, who is not here today, Knight Rider, who is here online, Blue, who is not currently here, White Fang, who is not here, Bulan, who is here with us in person, and JJ, who is online. Starting with Knight Rider, do you want to give us quick pronouns, very brief about yourself?
I am Knight Rider, otherwise Cooper Whitesoul. I go by he, him pronouns. And I guess I can't really say too much about myself besides being a biology student here on campus and really focusing on the medical route and just general love of creativity.
All right, Bulan?
Bulan, they, them. Keith Hill is his legal name, but especially in this context, just stick with my fur name where I can. Been in Minnesota for 10 years, been involved in furry for just about that long, and involved in various aspects of Minnesota Furs, from event running, working for the event department for a number of years, and then staffing for immigration and con-chair for about 3 years. Took a couple-year break, just kind of wanted to make a couple of focus some energy on career advancements, which I did over the last couple of years, and now kind of got my energy back, got some time back, and want to get back involved in the community again.
And then JJ.
JJ, I go by they, them pronouns. Name actually is Jeff Johnson, for those that are interested. Been part of the furry community since 2008 down here in Nebraska. Partner and I are going to be relocating to Minnesota. My involvement with Minnesota Furs has been primarily through staffing at Furry Migration for the past several years. And I'm just looking to increase my involvement with the organization, both through attending events and running for the board.
Thank you. For those who are watching from the audience, our candidates have put up bios on the website. So if you want to know more in depth about them, including their background, why they're interested in the board, et cetera, I encourage you to look that up on the MNFurs website, as it goes along pretty well with the Q&A. So voting for the board nominees will start on December 16th. To be eligible to vote, you have had to had 20 hours of volunteer time. I believe there is still time to put in your volunteer hours if you have not done so already. I do believe the cutoff for that is the 15th. So make sure those are in if you plan on voting. Voting will be conducted online at vote.mnfurs.org. With that, it is secure and anonymous. It begins at noon on the 16th. You request your individual voting code by emailing elections@mnfurs.org. There will also be a video on the YouTube channel that goes over how to do all of that. And if you have any questions, you're also just welcome to email elections directly and we can help guide you through it. Voting closes at 11:59 p.m. on January 5th. And then we will be announcing the results within 48 hours. And with that, if everyone's ready, we will start with the Q&A.
Yay.
Hooray. Alrighty. So our first question, with other organizations such as MFF, Anime Twin Cities, MarsCon, VGMCon, and more, how should MNFurs achieve our mission statement and still collaborate with our partners? The order for this one will go Knight Rider, Bulan, JJ.
All right. Does the timer start now?
As soon as you start talking.
All right. All right. Okay. With achieving other organizations and how we want to collaborate with our mission statement, I guess the best way is to actually just reach out and have contact, and depends on what opportunities arises. I will admit that I'm not too crazy knowledgeable on how I want to do these things, but that's the thing. It's a collaborative effort. I work with people along me to figure out what we need to do and figure out what the best interests are. Also, I just want to say the question did pop up, but now it's gone. But that'll be it for now. I just was not prepared.
Sorry, I guess we're working out how to show the questions so that you can see them and so that we can see you talking on the video at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So I'll probably just leave the question up then. There. And then we'll just make it clear who's talking at the time.
Okay. Next would be Vulan.
The primary function of MNFurs is focusing on our local community, and we have done a lot of collaborative efforts with local conventions and events, initially to gain experience in running our own events by helping work with some of the other local events and conventions. And now we're kind of in the position where we're a little bit more equally collaborative with Anime Twin Cities, VGMCon, et cetera. But it is in a way an outreach to start working with more closely with some of the local events and partners, especially since kind of the loss of the Geek Partnership Society. But we can kind of continue doing various things with the local events to assist them in their mission while also allowing us to further our focus on our community. The main way I see that being is attending and helping out with those other local events, and then meeting other furries in those events and communities, and bringing people to our event kind of in the same way that we help them.
Great. And then JJ, you're up.
You're muted.
Thank you. Trying to be respectful to others and eliminate noise. But anyway, I think it's actually going to be pretty easy to do with our mission of education and acceptance. The lines between furries and other fandoms are being blurred, where people are not just part of one fandom. So by reaching out to those other groups, I do believe through other collaborative events that we would be able to achieve our mission and help them achieve theirs.
Lovely. Moving on. Working on the board sometimes means working with individuals you may not personally get along with. What are some ways you would handle this if it came up? For this, our order is JJ, Vulan, and then Knight Rider. JJ, whenever you're ready.
Certainly. So I actually have to do this in my professional career as an automated QA analyst every day. Basically, if we have interpersonal conflict, some person and myself, we just need to talk that over, figure out what that disconnect is, try to move forward and remain professional in our interactions and our decision-making processes as we go through various activities.
Sure. All right. Vulan?
Kind of a lot like JJ, I deal with this at work as well, and it's something that I see often. Working with somebody that I may have a interpersonal difficulty with, there are a couple of ways to handle this. Number one, if I can continue to maintain a professional contact, professional relationship as we're getting the job done, that is kind of the most preferred. If needed, bringing in other board members or somebody to kind of moderate the conversation, just to be aware of kind of as we do dealing with conflicts of interest in this way, just saying that like, hey, we have an issue, but I need to work with this person for some reason. Or if it is somebody that I have a personal relationship with that is being brought up to the board for an issue that we need to handle, just being upfront with the other board members about it, bringing them in. We use the concept of expanding your team. So bringing other people in, making them aware of the situation, so we can all work together on resolving what the issue is, or if able, just staying professional, putting that to the side, understanding board hat on, I need to work on whatever this issue is and focus on it, would be how I would handle that.
And then Knight Rider.
I feel like this is probably going to sound like the same as everybody else. But yeah, with my job as example too, I'm a resident advisor here on campus, and I always have to mediate and listen to conflicts. And one thing that I always prefer to do if there are any conflicts, even with myself, is, well, first off, you always have to separate professionalism and like personal lifestyles. You have to make sure that you have well-placed priorities and be able to follow those through. Because with these personal issues, they could put a cog in the gears. So I guess I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet here compared to other people. I think it's just best to think about the benefit of the organization over anything else while you're in this setting, compared to personal relationships that could falter your progress.
Sure. Moving on. What is your understanding of your fiduciary responsibilities if elected to the board? For this one, it will be JJ, then Knight Rider, then Mulan. JJ, whenever you're ready.
I'm not sure what fiduciary responsibilities that I would generally have, other than trying to be a good steward of the organization's money, not being reckless with our spending, and making our decisions from a fact-based or an evidence-based type of decision-making process. Data-driven, sorry, that's the word I was looking for, was data-driven. Kind of figuring out where it is we want to go, how we want to get there, and figure out how we can best do that whilst not being reckless with the organization's funds.
All right, Knight Rider?
All right. With fiduciaries, I personally think it's best to obviously see if we can correlate our missions and have them well aligned. Otherwise, I personally don't really know what I would be doing, because I will admit, honestly, what I would like to prefer is I would like to communicate with other people on the team to fully understand things and get a grasp on what should be done. But otherwise, personally with this is I would be asking other people on for advice and input, and then collaborate with them to put into a final solution.
Sure. And then Willen?
One of the big responsibilities we have as a member of the board of directors is the trust that the attendees put in us on that board. Being open about conflicts of interest, being open about any known issues that we bring in. We talked a little bit before about the fact that my husband would also be on the board of directors with me. So being open, making sure that other board members know as things change or if things come up, as well as making sure that that openness is carried on to our attendees and our members. The responsibility as a board member to put the organization first, which kind of ties into the previous question. Being able to put on the board hat, maintain professionalism, understand the focus is on the organization more than the personal needs. So not being on the board for any personal gains, but for the gains of the community.
What strategies would you use to ensure MNFurs remains a welcoming and inclusive space, not just for its members, but also for members of the general public who might interact with the organization? Our order for this one will be Bulan, Knight Rider, then JJ.
Okay, we're good to go.
Thank God, yes.
Yes, okay.
But now you can't see the question.
I can see it up there.
Okay.
We're good. Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of ways that we can continue to be a very welcoming and inclusive space. I think it's something that we've done very well as an organization, something that I did a lot of work with as con-chair for immigration and on the events team. One of the biggest things I think is our web presence, our social media presence, and our public outreach. The times that we have walked in the St. Paul Winter Carnival Parade, that we've walked in the Minnesota Pride Parade, we've worked with GPS and other organizations during like Pride events or various public events to get out there and kind of be known by the public, be available to answer questions by the public. That's something that I teach in my first inning and handling 101 panel that I like to talk about is, somebody's going to come up to you and ask, what is this? And being a good steward for the community in openly answering those questions and just showing people that we're an organization that's here to have fun and we like the community that we've built. So how we manage ourselves within our community will keep us welcoming and inclusive to people that want to join. And then our various social outreaches are how we can be welcoming and inclusive to the general public.
Next is Knight Rider.
All right. To promote inclusivity, I would rather say that, of course, I would put emphasis on events, like public events. We will be celebrating like Black History Month, Pride Month, and etc. and we can celebrate all these different communities and collaborate with them. I may sound like a broken record, but I will say a lot of my answers to these questions will probably be collaboration. Because I think it's best to collaborate with people and have engagement with the community and other communities to promote that working together. And hopefully we can work on a better image for ourselves for people that don't know who we are. But otherwise, I think we're doing a really great job with inclusivity, and we just keep on going down the path we are going.
And JJ.
Muted, sorry.
I keep getting caught. Yeah, so as Vulan said, I do also agree that we are doing a pretty good job already with inclusivity. Being present at public events, holding our own public events, working with other organizations to get not only our group but other groups out into the public as well. Community outreach, collaboration. I mean, this is one of those questions that you're going to get similar answers because, I mean, it's quite frankly the best way to go. Just be out there, be good stewards to the community, and be open and honest about what we are, who we are, and what our goals are.
How would you ensure transparency and accountability to the members of MNFurs? Order for this one is JJ, Knight Rider, Vulan, so basically just switched.
Transparency is one of those tough issues because, I mean, with any organization, if you're in a decision-making capacity, if you're in a position of leadership, there are going to be some things that you just cannot talk about to the general public at certain times. But I've always been, with my career, an over communicator to a point. I make sure that the people involved in a project that I'm working on are well aware of any progress that we're making, any risks that may be present or may show up. On top of which, any issues that do arise, they are known or made aware of it in very quick time, usually with an idea for a solution as well. Yeah, that's pretty much how it is I would communicate the best that I can with what I can, and let folks know if there are things that I just can't talk about.
Mine is actually relatively similar to that. Is very big emphasis on communication and making sure that there are clear set boundaries. I personally really like to, of course, state boundaries right away, make sure that people know what I'm willing to talk about and what I'm not willing to talk about, or what I shouldn't talk about regarding the organization or like planning or whatnot. But it really is just really heavy emphasis on communication between myself and the other person, or I think it's also very good to get a second or third opinion from other people. Just communication overall.
I think for transparency and accountability as a member of the board, as we've talked about already, there are certain things that we can't necessarily talk in detail, but we can still be transparent to the community. There are things going on, there are things that we handle, there are decisions we need to make that we do in closed door portions of the meeting. But the majority of our meeting is open door. And one of the big changes we've made over the past couple of years is transitioning to, just like this, a hybrid meeting, making it more accessible to people to show up to the board of directors meetings and any of the convention or event meetings that we have. I think the step that we can do beyond that is actually encouraging people to show up to them read the meeting notes, reading the minutes, seeing what the board is doing, even if they're not necessarily directly engaged, understanding what we're here to do as a board of directors for the community, and the part that the members, the role that they play by electing us. We're here to make the decisions for the community as a whole, and I want them to be able to speak their voice, even if they may not be the ones making the vote or the decision. They still have a say, even if they're not on the board itself.
Nonprofit groups require funds to remain operational. That includes us. What is your proposal on ways to provide more revenue streams for MNFurs? For this one, we have got Knight Rider, Wulong, then JJ.
All right, this is actually something I did put a little bit of thought behind. Besides I guess our general revenue of sales and merchandise at our flagship events, I also propose, and at least from my basic understanding, I know that I may be wrong, is that I mainly really want to work on public image as a board as part of it, and I really want to work on public image to the point where it's of course a little bit more public and more common knowledge, and to that point you may be able to collaborate with other organizations or corporations, and then they are willing to donate to the organization, as most typically do. That's the main point I have.
Mhm.
Was that next on that?
Mhm.
Okay. I think we do a lot of good so far in terms of our budget year over year. The con is definitely our big moneymaker. It does bring a very good revenue stream in for Minnesota Furs. And initially, the convention existed as a fundraiser for Minnesota Furs. We've shifted over the years, and I think it's been really good. The con is kind of its own self-sustained thing, but it does help support the local community and our annual events. Probably one of the biggest things that I would focus on is our monthly like oval meets and such, getting them to be a little bit more balanced in their budget and profitability of those events, that they are self-sustaining, because currently they are not, and that's something that we've been struggling with in the past, I know. That would probably be the biggest focus in terms of not necessarily needing new revenue streams, but improving some of our cost centers, like the monthly meets, so that we're not, monthly meets and picnics and stuff, so that we're not having to balance them with the convention.
And then JJ.
Yep. I do believe that we are potentially missing out on a source of revenue that we could be taking better advantage of through our pre-registration process for the convention itself. We have the ability within RegFox at the moment to sell offer like pre-orders for different types of merchandise. So instead of, if somebody wants to upgrade their sponsorship, but they don't necessarily want all the swag, they just want the shirt, they could go at a regular membership and then buy the shirt separately. If we offer that, I think we can generate a little bit more in revenue, and it would potentially clear up some traffic within Dealer's Den as far as folks standing around an individual merch table. Otherwise, as far as things go, I think folks have said it. The convention already does good about making money and being self-sustaining, and taking a look at partnerships with local businesses or other organizations to kind of help out with shouldering small bits of the load.
If elected to the board, how will you handle yourself publicly when/if approached by the general public wanting to know more about us? So that might look like being at a romp and having a stranger come up and go, "Hey, what's all this about?" Things like that. For this one, we will go JJ Knight Rider Vulan.
So for something like this, I would be very forthcoming about what it is. If it was a member of the general public approaching about our event, I would be very clear in stating that we are a group of people that enjoy anthropomorphic animals, which, for example, our fursuit characters. We generally will create our own characters to match our own feelings for how we want to represent ourselves in this community. We are a fun-loving group. We love to, play games, video games, interact with one another, socialize, just have fun. And this is a way for a large number of us to get together and enjoy each other's company.
Alrighty, Knight Rider.
I have encountered this before, and I express that, yes, it's a love for anthropomorphic animals, and I think it's the best way that we express our creativity. As a whole, what most of this community is it's just a lot of creativity, and everyone's expressing each other. And it's just a place where people can connect with each other and able to enjoy their same interests and then talk with new people, trying to find new interests. It's just a great way to find new people that are very open and caring. Otherwise, it's well, usually I open up with, "Oh, MNFurs, it's a nonprofit organization," and but a lot of them like to just ask about the fursuits. But yeah, I would talk about the creativity and how people make them themselves, and yeah, just creativity in general.
Sure.
So if elected to the board, I won't change how I handle this because I handle this, I deal with this quite a lot. Having been con-chair for immigration for a number of years, I definitely dealt with this. Also being an event runner for a lot of some of the local events, helping like Drake and them out with some of the romps and whatnot. I teach this in my fursuiting and handling panel. This is a talk that I like to give. Is especially if you are not in suit around a bunch of suitors, if you're the handler, you're going to be the person that people come up to and ask, what is all of this about? And I like talking about it. I tend to say we're a social group of people that like cartoon animals. That's a nice kind of, that's the initial. And then if they want to know more, I'm more than happy to talk about it. Something else that I would do is encouraging new members at like romps or any of these events that, hey, I'm, a member of the board. If anybody comes up to you asking questions that you're not sure how to answer, you don't feel comfortable answering, use me as a resource. Feel free to say, hey, they're one of the event runners. Let's go chat with them. I'm more than happy to do that to help other people kind of have that talk. Because for a lot of the general public, they've never seen fursuiters before. It's a very interesting thing when you see them at like the picnics or romps or anything like that. And for most part, people are just kind of curious what it's about. I do like having that conversation. It's a social community. Talk about what we're about, the events that we run, what we do. Talk about the convention as we fundraise for other charities and those kinds of things. All the stuff I like to highlight.
Alrighty. Next question. As a volunteer organization, all of our staff are volunteers. What ideas do you have to prevent burnout, both in others and yourself?
The question is in chat.
And then our order for this one is JJ, then Knight Rider, then Vulan.
So as a department head, I have to actually deal with this within the convention itself. Basically, I would take the skills that I have gleaned from my time as a department head within the convention and try and extrapolate that out to the greater organization as a whole. Essentially, it comes down to try not to overwork folks, allow them breaks, allow them the ability to go do the things that they want to do during an event. And essentially just try not to overwork them or work them to death. There are some that are going to show dedication and say, no, all I want to do is help. Speaking from one of those people, it is good to have someone say, okay, we just don't need you at this exact moment. Go have some fun.
Knight Rider?
All right, you know me, I like to keep it short and simple, less is more. Communication. Yes, we all love communication. Talk with the other person that could be experiencing burnout or you suspect might be having burnout soon. Just set up healthy boundaries to be able to communicate with someone so you can actually figure out what's going on with them, or if they are not afraid to say, hey, I think I need to slow this down a little bit. Just more of simply to keep it, I think this is relatively simple, to just have healthy communication with people and encourage that conversations.
Dylan?
This is something I dealt with myself as con-chair for 3 years and getting the convention through COVID, and a lot of that I was kind of losing the magic of running an event like this or working for something like this. I took 2 years off. I stepped back. I didn't leave any of my responsibilities. I made sure there was an exchange, and I worked with the incoming con-chair, and but I needed to take a break, and I knew that. I think a lot of the things we can do to help, one of the biggest things is recruiting more staff, because if we get more people that are volunteering and staffing, even in small ways to help, it takes the load off of everybody else, helps to prevent burnout, gives people a little bit of a break. Encouraging the entire way through our staff, from leadership down to just individual staff and volunteers, to manage their load, understanding that we're all volunteers for a volunteer organization. Nobody's paid to do this. Nobody has any incentive to be here other than wanting to help further the community. But at the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself. And if you don't have the energy to do this, we need to see what we can do about that. One of the things that I'm really happy that is finally happening, and something I wanted to have, is the staff appreciation event for immigration that we've got that Rico's able to put on this year. I want to see more of that, more appreciation for the people that are helping make this happen. Increased volunteer perks for immigration, as well as for MNFurs staff, would be things that I would like to see.
If elected, what are some of your goals that you want to accomplish with the organization over the next 2 years, and why? For this one, we will have Vulan, Knight Rider, JJ.
A couple of the biggest thing I want to see is better staff recruiting and onboarding. Something that we're improving convention is better write-ups for each department, so people that are interested in working for a department can get a packet day one and see what a department looks like and whether or not it'd be a good fit for them. And then for people that are outgoing from a department, it's a handoff and a touch point for the next person coming in to say that, hey, you can run this department how you want, but here's what we did, so that you're not kind of left on your own. So kind of that staff organization and handoff, and when we onboard staff, kind of improving that workflow would probably be one of the biggest focuses. What was talked about a little bit earlier is improving budgeting and profitability in some of our monthly events and picnics. Those are kind of probably the two big focus areas I've seen.
Knight Rider?
Adding on to one thing you said there, which I think is incredibly beneficial, is like the little handbooks to give to event staff, or, well, in my case, event staff. Just giving handbooks to staff so they actually know what they're doing, because personally I wasn't the biggest fan of my trial by fire. So I'm I'm actually writing one of those for the event staff. It's on hold right now just because of finals, but otherwise, what I'd mainly like to encourage on is I I will say you have a very good point on staffing. I will agree with that. But otherwise, I really want to work on events and like public image because I think events could be expanded more upon on the educational side of things because we have again a lot of fursuit romps and yes, they are fun. And I encourage them, but I think it's best to also have some variety as well with events. And I also want to try to partner with other organizations. Like I've was found one, can't remember the name, where you can go plant trees. I think that would also lead into better public image as well, and that could lead to more funding from corporations or organizations, and then that could benefit us and the state of Minnesota.
And JJ.
So my things are a little tend to lean a little more focused towards migration, just because that's what I am familiar with. The first being creating a little bit more cohesion, a little bit more transparency between the board and the convention itself. There have been a few times where things weren't explained as to why certain decisions gets made, so it kind of leaves us feeling like, okay, well, we understand there are decisions that have to be made, but we don't understand why this particular one went this way. If we create better cohesion between those two groups, I think we will get an even better, an even smoother running convention, since that does tend to be our big money maker, our big money making event, I should say. And then the other thing is in regards to data collection in for the convention. We do rely heavily on paper books, paper forms, and it's kind of been my goal since taking over that department to kind of try and modernize processes. I would like to work with IT. I would like to work with registration to figure out how we can collect some of these forms in a digital format to make things a little smoother, a little easier for our attendees, especially those who happen to be minors. It makes it a lot easier for their parents.
What are your ideas for engaging with underrepresented groups within the MNFurs community? For this one, we have Knight Rider, then JJ, then Bulan.
All right, I think it's relatively simple, and I might repeat myself, but I think it's collaboration, communication, and working along with other people. I think the idea is I guess mainly with my only background regarding this is really focusing on events and having like a encouragement for like events that could have that. I guess it's more of listening to what the public wants, in listening to the people that are underrepresented, and then we can work with them to have some representation for them through events, because events usually get a lot of attention from the public.
All right, JJ.
So this plays into one of my strengths where I feel that I am a very approachable person. I would reach out to those that feel like they may be underrepresented, and try and figure out how or what it is that we're doing that makes them feel that way. Because only by knowing what's going on and why they're feeling the way they're feeling can we take steps to address any potential issues that may exist. Otherwise, maybe trying to figure out some sort of an event that would bring them closer to the forefront if that's something that they're seeking. Because quite honestly, I've been that wallflower and I've felt that way, but by creating events or hosting events that make folks feel included, that tends to break them out of their shells and gets them talking and interacting with more people.
I think, like what has been said before, openness to receive communication from these people, being approachable, being accessible, being out at events, accessible online, so that people can reach out and say, hey, I'm, having some issue, or I'm feeling some way that MNFurs is not an inclusive group for me for some reason. I have to say too, education for me as a board member, I'd be curious why somebody feels underrepresented within this organization. And because it's not something I personally feel, so I can't comment myself. But I would be wanting to be empathetic with them, understanding why they feel this way, and then wanting to work together. How can we promote them as a group? Do you want to have your own event? Do you want to have an educational event or a panel for immigration? How can we help make these things happen to bring these groups more into the spotlight, give them some promotion within our community and some recognition to help them not feel this way.
How would you define success for MNFurs, and what metrics would you use to measure that success? For this one, we have got Vulan, then JJ, then Knight Rider.
Success for MNFurs is our events. The fact that we're able to continue to host events. We remain overall profitable. Our goal is not to make money, but we need it to continue to run these events. So we're continuing to run in a positive, which is good. We're continuing to have positive community outreach and positive community events. An example of the success that I see in MNFurs is having brought friends in from other states or other regions that come here to like our picnic event, for example, and a friend of mine that he flies across the country for the picnics because his local furry community has nothing like this. And in my travels around the country and in other regions and talking to other furries, very few local organizations have the level of cohesiveness that we do. It's not to say that we don't have our issues, every group does, but I have not seen a local group that can run a convention, run monthly meets, run, biannual picnics. The kinds of events that we do don't exist in a lot of other communities, which is why I feel that we continue to be successful. And also seeing the influx of new people over the last couple of years has been very uplifting, really, to me as a staff member. It's been really good to see.
All right, JJ?
So for me, it would be continuing the growth that we have, that we've seen since my coming into activity with the organization in, the early 2020s. Like Vulan said, and I can speak from my local group, there is a level of cohesion, a level of welcoming, openness that MNFurs has that my local group here absolutely does not. In fact, the cohesion is so bad, there are at least 3 different groups that operate independent of one another, and it seems like none of them can work together very well. It is one of the big reasons why my relocation is going to be to Minnesota, so that I can continue to foster the growth, the openness, the inclusivity that MNFurs has shown me to keep the organization going and growing into the future.
All right, Knight Rider?
Don't exactly want to repeat everything everyone said there, but essentially, I love how we're all just one big happy family. We're able to all connect really well, at least from my knowledge. We're all able to connect really well and support each other. And how I would define success personally, I would say it is I love surveys, and I hope a lot of people fill out surveys. So I think surveys are very important to listen to people, have their feedback, and if people are happy, I think we're successful. Otherwise, I do think it's attendance as well. Uh, like I was so happy, like I was so ecstatic when I was at Furry Migration, and someone was like, "Oh yeah, I came in from Colorado." I was like, "You came from out of state!" Uh, and if when for another example, if I was hosting my own event and someone said they drove 2 hours to get to this event, and like, "Oh wow, you're melting my heart." Uh, so I guess it's like the willingness and determination of people wanting to be together. I find that incredibly satisfying, and that's how I would define success: is people wanting to be together and connecting well.
Alrighty. What inspired you to run for a position on the Minnesota Furs Board of Directors? For this one, we have got same order as last time. Vulon, then Knight Rider, then JJ.
For me, it was, as I spoke about a little bit earlier, after running as con-chair for a number of years, I mean, really being staff for Fair Migration every year but its first year. I did a lot of work with the local event and community, and had a lot of external pressure kind of in my life with work and a bunch of other stuff going on. I needed to step back. Took 2 years off. It's been really relieving for me, personally, going to MFF last year and kind of just getting to enjoy the convention and attend it again, really just as a regular attendee, kind of reminded me of why I staffed for the convention for so long and why I like running these events. I like people being able to attend them and enjoy it. Kind of got that magic back for me, and looking for how to get back on board. I'm going to be working with Rico with the convention, regardless of whether or not I get elected to the board. I'll continue to work very closely with for immigration and the events as I can. But this is just another way for me to kind of expand my skill base, and provide more for the community with my time.
All right, Knight Rider.
What inspired me is, well, I'm a very ambitious individual that loves to thrive and do more, and I find pride in growth. I've been growing a lot as a person. I want to learn as much as I can and experience as much as I can. I want to be able to be prideful of who I am and continue to grow. And also, I love furries. They're great. They're great people. Uh, so I would say it's also just like I really want to help develop the community as well, because I think it could always become stronger. I want to grow as a person, and I also want the community to grow and develop. And otherwise, I was nominated onto this. I think I know who, but I will say, from my missions and what I want to do, if I'm board member or not, it will not change my goals of wanting to develop a community image and public image, and creating more connections. I will want to develop events further.
And JJ.
Yeah, for me, I'm moving towards the next stage in my furry life, so to speak. I've done the thing where I've participated in events and just a participant, taking from the community what I can. It is now time that I start giving back. And in this way, I feel that by attempting to run for the board, that I can help guide the organization in a way that will keep it going, growing, and expand our community even further than we already have. Help us get involved with other furry groups and maybe be a mentor, so to speak, for those other groups to help improve the community in areas where it may not be as cohesive as what we have.
Lovely. The number on the bottom just jumped dramatically. Anyway, what scares you the most about being on the board? This one is Knight Rider, then JJ, then Bulan.
Well, I guess what scares me the most is if I if I cannot connect with someone that would be able to help me, like I will need some type of mentor, someone I can talk to. I like confirmation because I will admit, I don't think I'm that crazy experienced compared to other people. So I would like that mentorship, and I would like that confirmation before I get more confident in my abilities. You will most likely see me again here, but I guess it's just what scares me the most is probably hearing about drama that I don't want to hear about.
JJ?
In my case, it kind of falls along the same lines of having to learn exactly how political the leadership of the organization gets. And I'm not talking like Republican, Democrat. I'm talking like, a microcosm of personalities and ideas and thoughts and ways of doing things. I mean, I have to deal with that in my daily career, so it's not so bad, but I think that is probably the thing that is getting me at the most. Only for I will have to learn how to interact with a group of people that, or let me rephrase that. I will need to learn how to interact with a group of people in a capacity that I have not interacted with them before.
Bulan?
As con-chair for FM, I've been on the board before, so this is not new to me. So there really isn't much that scares me about it. I know what I'm getting into and I know what to expect. The things that are focus areas for me that I know will be difficulties for me, probably the biggest one is my availability. Because I don't work a 9 to 5, my schedule is not fixed in any way and it changes monthly and even day by day sometimes. Being able to work with my schedule with things like board meetings and whatnot will probably be one of the biggest things that I'm going to have to put effort into. And I definitely have areas of things that I would like to improve upon. Managing interpersonal relationships that we talked about, kind of that was mentioned earlier, kind of the politics of the local group. Are definitely things that I want to improve personally, to be able to give back better to the community. And then kind of a focus area for me is we have so many new people that have come into the community, which is really exciting. I think this is a very exciting opportunity, but it is definitely getting myself out there to those people, starting to meet them, and for them to be able to meet me would be definitely an area that I'm going to put high focus on if I get elected.
So this is for community questions, which we did not get any of. So final question. If MNFurs were to create its own mascot to represent the organization to the general public, what kind of animal would it be and what would the superpower be? This one's for fun. And this one will be JJ, then Bulan, then Knight Rider.
Well, for me, it would probably need to be something that is related to the wildlife that is in the area. I would probably go with something along the line the bear. Superpower. Oh, this is like really on the spot. I honestly don't know what the superpower would be. Probably something in related to the sports in the area. So either I know this is stereotypical for Minnesota, either skiing or hockey. And being a hockey fan, I lean more towards being like a hockey player. That tough, rough exterior, but big and cuddly in the end.
All right, move on.
I like this one. I feel like, well, we've had a couple of mascots that we've tried to create for immigration, but we don't want to be limiting, and we don't want to be like, this is the representative of the group. But it is nice, and it's kind of a fun idea to do, to be like, we're going to have something that we can use for artwork and outreach and those kinds of things. I think in the interest of ridiculousness, with all of the changes, all the, I guess, memes that came out with the change to the Minnesota state flag, I want the laser loon to be our mascot, and that's super fun.
All right, Knight Rider.
I will say I like the idea of the laser loon. I actually did give this a bit of thought not that long ago because someone was asking me about it. I was like, that's a good question. Personally, I would like to do something, I guess, that isn't too common. Like, I haven't really seen anybody else do it. It also depends on the route we want to take. Because, yeah, I also don't want it to be like a representative of limiting, like, oh, you got to be like a mammal or something. But I will admit it's probably not the best route for, like, it. I don't see it as an anthropomorphic character, but monarch butterflies are pretty popular in Minnesota. So I think use of a monarch butterfly would look visually appealing for like a logo or something, but I personally don't know if it would look that appealing anthropomorphic. But otherwise, I think birds in general, like we could do mallard ducks, blue jay, cardinal. But otherwise, I think the monarch butterfly sounds really good for a visually appealing logo. But otherwise, superpower, pollinating.
And that's all we got for you guys today. So as a reminder, elections start December 16th at noon. If you have 20 volunteer hours, you can email elections@MNFurs.org for your voting code, which will be online. You have until the 15th to submit your volunteer hours. So if you have any interest at all in voting, make sure you do that before then, because that is a hard cutoff. If you have any questions that come up before then, you are welcome to email elections@MNFurs.org. And the Q&A video with the folks who could not attend answers spliced in will be put up as soon as that is edited on the MNFurs YouTube. Any last minute questions before we wrap up?